As a tsunami of disruptions rising from the global economic slowdown and the coronavirus has inundated this global economy, today, ServiceNow and the Economic Times present the India Leadership Series to discuss this issue. In this series, we will rewire our understanding of a world in flux. This is a series of interactions with stalwarts across industries. Hello, I am Scott Drummonds, Vice President of Solution Consulting in Asia Pacific and Japan for ServiceNow. Today, I am speaking with Mr. Anand Roy, Managing Director of Star Health and Allied Insurance Company. He is responsible for the overall growth and profitability of the organization with a special focus on marketing, business strategy, new products and initiatives, digital business, and analytics. He is a health insurance expert with nearly 2 decades of experience in the Indian insurance and banking sector and has successfully managed insurance businesses from startup onwards. Welcome today, Mr. Roy.
Thank you, Scott. Thank you for having me, and very, very happy to be with you today.
I hope you and your family are healthy and safe.
Yes, they're doing well. Thank you so much for checking.
I'm glad to hear that. As we know, the healthcare industry and all of India has been tremendously tested during the pandemic. I wouldn't be surprised if your work has doubled in the last few months. Can you tell me a little bit about that and how you've managed that?
Yeah, Scott. So as you can imagine, for the last 15 months, it's been very, very hectic as far as the Indian health insurance business goes, and for the entire healthcare ecosystem as such in India. And of course, the last 2 months have been especially very, very challenging for all of us. But to keep up with our company's service promises, we had to work, think out of the box, and ensure that our services were available at all points of time during this last 15 months. Massive transformation towards digital processes helped us in reaching most of the customers' expectations. And as you can imagine, it's not only the end customer, but there's a lot of stakeholders involved. For example, the network providers. How do you work along with them? So a lot of integrations with the providers, with our distributors, banks. So it's been a very hectic 15 months or so. But the good news is this has kind of propelled our entire industry into a digital transformation never thought of before. And I'm hoping and I'm quite confident that we will keep on improving from here on. And I think that will lead to tremendous customer satisfaction going forward. And I think everyone will be benefited from this in the long run.
I agree completely. In fact, I think many of these changes necessitated by the new remote environment are going to give us all step function improvements in productivity. I am curious, though, you said that this pandemic has driven a massive transformation. Was that transformation that started before the pandemic, or were you forced to go on part of this journey during the pandemic?
So, Scott, we actually started before the pandemic itself, and what happened during the lockdown and work remotely, was the adoption rates kicked off to a level never seen before the pandemic. And let me give you a couple of examples. For example, from our distributors' point of view, we have a very large agency network. We have about 400,000 agents across the country who sell our products. And as you can imagine, during this pandemic and the lockdown, the awareness of health insurance skyrocketed in India. And people started inquiring about health insurance products. So the adoption of our digital platforms in our sales network, that is through our agents and sales managers, went up from what was 25-30% prior to the pandemic to around 90% during the pandemic. And that's been a very, very positive sign. And the second thing also, very interestingly, customers' point of view and customers themselves, the way they adopted to the digital tools provided by various insurance companies is unbelievable. For example, in terms of renewing their policies. In India, health insurance policies are an annual contract mostly, so they have to renew the plans every year, and renewing the policies using all the digital platforms, whether it's online portals or apps or chatbots or whatever. It was unbelievable, the adoption as far as the customers were concerned. Similarly, in terms of claims, very importantly, as you can imagine, the number of claims are extremely high during this pandemic. So submission of claims, reimbursement claims especially, the way the customers adopted to the digital platforms, while they could literally WhatsApp the claim documents and the claims could get processed, and that was kind of really, really encouraging for us, the way we saw the adoption, to hope that in the future we will be able to build better from here onwards.
In fact, I was thinking that you're lucky, or perhaps this is very good planning, that you embarked on this digital transformation before we had to deal with this very special and tragic environment. But certainly, as difficult as things are now, and we're starting to see, we hope, a light at the end of the tunnel, I bet now is a time of some reflection where you can realize, uh-oh, maybe there was one thing we really should have done and we'll never make that mistake again. Do you have one of those enduring lessons that you're going to get to first thing as soon as you can? You've learned it in this new environment and it's going to change the way you do business in the future?
Well, there have been a lot of learnings, especially, unlike other companies or other industries where lockdown meant a lockdown or a shutdown. A health insurance business, you had to keep your lights on all the time. You can't shut down literally, And what happened is, whether it is in terms of claims processing or in terms of new business, policy issuance, we had a lot of learnings. And at a macro level, I would put it as, the largest learning is digital business. Digitalization of processes cannot move in phases anymore. It has to go simultaneously. What we earlier used to think about is, okay, this is phase 1, this is phase 2, and this is phase 3, and we will prioritize our digitization efforts. But I think the current environment has made us understand that everything is high priority. Nothing can be postponed for later. And so we are trying to, ensure that all the processes are moving simultaneously. We have scaled up our team rapidly. We have engaged with a lot of vendors. At the same time, we have invested, our investments in digitalization has increased almost 5-fold in this last 1.5 years. So I think these are the learnings. And I think we are on a good, these are good learnings for the industry as such and for us in particular. And I think we will be able to improve from here onwards.
Well, our CEO, ServiceNow CEO, Mr. Bill McDermott, often says digital no longer enables the business, it is the business. And you talk about your investment in digital strategy and your belief now that you've got to move all of these work streams in parallel. What are some of the pillars of your digital strategy, things that you're changing even now and plan to change in the future?
Yeah. So first of all, I think I really 100% accept to your CEO's message that digital is the business. I think there's no doubt about it. Totally second that. So some of the important areas, Scott, what we are focusing on right now is how do we bring our stakeholders, the most important stakeholder is the network partners, the hospitals, and how do we ensure that we are able to work along with them in a more closer manner. So, for example, giving cashless authorization during an admission, how do we speed that up? So just to give you a context, even before this pandemic happened, about a couple of years ago, IRDA, the regulator, had come out with a sandbox initiative where companies were asked to submit their innovative ideas on digitalization. And we actually embarked upon an auto adjudication sandbox project where we were integrating with our network providers and where cashless authorizations could happen through a machine learning process rather than a human intervention. And we could bring down the authorization turnaround time from what was current that time 60 minutes to maybe a couple of minutes at most, And we have kind of scaled up that process. We are networking with many of our providers to bring this auto adjudication it's a straight through process for regular claims, which can happen through the system itself. Similarly, as far as policy issuance is concerned, where customers want to buy new policies or want to renew their policies, our underwriting systems have been totally automated, so the system is able to approve or reject or raise queries on the proposals that hit the system. So these are the various initiatives that we have taken. Of course, there are many more, but I think these are the two main initiatives which we believe will impact the market in the big manner and will improve, the experience itself.
Yeah, I'm sure you're right. And there's maybe an underlying trend here you might like to comment on. The expectations of consumers are changing so much. Of course, automation benefits your business in many ways, but it also grants us all this need for instantaneous gratification where we want things done now. And another thing you mentioned earlier is some of your customers using WhatsApps for engagement, WhatsApp for claim submission. So we have to engage with a completely different consumer base or customer base today. Are there any other changes that you are seeing among your consumers that are going to drive changes in your business?
Oh, absolutely, absolutely. We are actually adopting our processes only based on the feedback we are getting from our consumers, and it's been a pleasant learning. We never thought that the consumers would be so happy to adopt to digital processes. It was always thought that health insurance business is very what do you say, human intensive, and there's a lot of engagement which is required at a human level. But what has happened now is we have seen that consumers are willing to adopt to technology, whether it's as you rightly said, in terms of submitting claim documents through WhatsApp, or even purchasing policies on chatbots on WhatsApp and all of that. That's something which is very encouraging. And what is leading this is the rapid penetration of new customers from the younger age group. In India, typically health insurance was earlier, people after they cross the age of 50, they would think about health insurance. But now, because of this pandemic, which has now hit everyone across the age groups, there's nobody spared. Even younger people have got affected. So it's led to a tremendous amount of engagement at the younger generation who are buying health insurance products. And I think that's they are giving us a lot of inputs and a lot of feedback, and we are building our processes based on that.
It's great. So almost you probably started this to keep up with those changes, but once you made those changes, it unlocked a market that maybe wasn't as excited before to address the insurance industry, but now you're hip and cool and they want in on it too.
Absolutely. Absolutely. You're right.
So something I read about online I thought was really cool is this mix of the digital channels you're talking about and the physical channels that a lot of customers, I would imagine my mother still prefers to engage people on the phone and face to face. And these are blended together in the India market in what you call the phygital channels, that's physical and digital. Tell us a little bit about that movement that's happening with Star Health.
Absolutely. Happy to. Good that you brought this up, Scott. And this is very important for us as a company because, as I told you, we have a very large physical distribution team in place. We have about 1,000 offices, about 400,000 agents who are out in the field to market our products and service the customers. So what's happening now is the engagement process has undergone a change over the last 15 months, where customers want to talk to someone, want probably meet if it is required, not really necessary as it used to be earlier, but probably talk over the phone, get some advice, and close the business or go through the entire process through a digital means. Okay, so there is a physical element in the sense that there's somebody actually counseling you, advising you of the various products which are available and which is the best to go for, and then actually finishing the entire process through the digital process. So it's a physical and it's a mix of physical and digital, and that's why it's called phygital. Okay, so the actual adoption of entire digital process in India is still very low. I believe that the phygital model will continue to grow more and more as more customers feel happy to do the process online, but at the same time want a human touch. And that's where I think this model is picking up like anything across the country. And we are seeing this happening not only in the metro and urban cities, but we are seeing this happening even in the semi-urban and the rural areas, very interestingly. And that's where we believe, and we have empowered most of our sales guys with tablets, with mobile apps, and so that they are able to close the loop using a digital means, but at the same time have a physical contact.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I think a lot of this change in the way we engage our customers is obviously driven by this more technology literate group that's aging and they're growing more wealthy and they can make these investments and plan for their future. But I think that we're changing a little bit too. Do you believe that you've changed some? I mean, I consider even 5 years ago, I have to say, the first time I heard that virtual agents and chatbots were going to show up everywhere, I was holding my head thinking, who the heck wants to talk to a chatbot? But the fact is that I can usually get an answer faster and sometimes get my problem solved by going a digital means. So it's not just the younger generation, right? Our behaviors are changing too, aren't they?
Oh yes, oh yes. So probably a chatbot, maybe the younger generation, but even if you look at the elder generation, okay, they are very comfortable in calling a call center and going through an automated process. And we are seeing that we have a 24/7, 365 days call center. And what's happening there is they are happy to talk to someone, but at the same time, they are able to get most of their queries resolved by an SMS or an WhatsApp, which goes back to them, and they're happy about that. They don't necessarily want to meet somebody in person, but they are interested to talk to someone. So it's a mix and match of both. The younger generation is definitely more happy on self-servicing tools like chatbots and probably WhatsApp queries and stuff like that. But the elder generation is more happy to talk to a call center kind of a setup. So both are happening, but both are growing very, very rapidly.
Yeah. Okay, you have been at Star Health alone, I believe, for 15 years, and we said 20 years in this industry. The rate of change in that period of time is incredible. Might almost be tough to believe to go back 20 years and see where we are now. Real quick, give me a guess, 20 years from now, what's going to be so different in your business that we don't see today?
So, I would put it this way. Health insurance in India has undergone a rapid transformation in the last 15 months. So there will actually be two periods for health insurance business in India. One is before the pandemic and one is after the pandemic. Okay, before the pandemic, it was a push product where customers thought that it's a waste of investment, waste of money. If I don't make a claim, there's nothing in it for me. There's no return on investment. But now people have realized that this is not an investment. This is actually a protection, which is absolutely very, very necessary for the entire family. So there has already been a major transformation in the mindset of the consumers. But if I want to project, 10, 15, 20 years down the line, I would imagine, the penetration of health insurance in India is still so low. It's less than 10% as far as private health insurance is concerned. So more of the existing patterns will continue. Obviously, there'll be a lot of innovations in terms of products and services. But I think actually getting more Indians to have a health insurance coverage is the most important thing. Distribution platforms will evolve. There are a lot of innovations happening on those areas. But I think, that's going to be, it'll be more of the same, but in a more efficient manner. And last but not the least, I think one of the things which is coming up very interestingly in India now is the wellness platform. Okay, customers, especially the younger age group who are taking care of their health, who are fit and who are healthy, who are hitting the gym, they are interested to find out, okay, if I invest in health insurance, what do I get in return? So wellness and, well-being and mental health and telemedicine, these are the areas which are booming right now. And I think these will become very, very critical, areas in the future as far as health business is concerned.
Terrific. Okay, and last question on a personal note, when we can put all of this behind us, what do you personally look most forward to doing once this pandemic is in our rearview mirror?
So Scott, I think I'm similar to many of you guys. I think one of the things that I miss the most is traveling. My job was to travel a lot around the country, even in my work, meeting people, going, meeting our team members across the country. And that's something that we've been locked down for the last 15 months. So I really look forward to that. And of course, on a personal note, I'm also a very avid travel enthusiast. So I'll hope that, we can take up some holidays once this lockdown and pandemic is behind us.
Fantastic. As do we both. I want to thank you very much, Mr. Anand Roy, Managing Director of Star Health and Allied Insurance Company. Once the pandemic is over, he's coming to a city near you. And the other thing I heard is if you're out there early in career, thinking about what to do for your work, it seems like there's going to be a lot of growth in the insurance market in India in the coming decades. Look into it. Thank you again, Mr. Roy.
Thank you, Scott. Thank you for having me. Pleasure to be with you.
It was a pleasure. Thanks everyone for listening.